Okay, good morning. Welcome to Iyun Benzion. Today we started a new parak, 10th parak of Kesubos, Sadi, number 90. We started talking about Kesubos ben indifferent, which we talked about earlier in the Masechta on document Beis. Kesubos ben indifferent basically what it usually means is that when a husband has two wives, right, and they die in his lifetime, so he inherits the Kesuba of both of his wives. However, when he dies after that, and he has Yarshim, right, he had children from both wives, so normally Yerusha is split evenly among the children. However, the ksuvas, their masakin, the ksuva of each mother goes the entire ksuva goes to the children of that wife, of that mother. So the children from the first wife, if she has a bigger ksuva and the ksuva of the second wife, substantially bigger, they're entitled to the whole ksuva. And the second wife gets her meager ksuva. And then the rest of the Yerusha, they split evenly. The reason they did this, the Ronan Masakin, is because technically the ksuva is part of the Yerusha. Everything should be split evenly. However, the Masakin, the ksuva remains in effect after the death, because otherwise fathers who wanted to give a big dowry to their daughter would be inhibited to do so, because he might marry a second wife and they might lose their big ksuba. They might split evenly among their non-grandchildren, right? Because they're children from another. I mean, they're grandchildren technically from the father, but from their own daughter, it doesn't go to their own daughter's children. So our Gemara, our Mishnah talks about a different case. The Seif of our Mishnah, on the first Mishnah in the parak, talks about Achas B'chayva, Achas B'mos. Let's say he marries a woman, and then she dies, which is normally the case with Subin different. However, they marry his second wife, and he predeceases her. He dies, and she's still alive. Now, she is allowed to collect her ksuba as a balchol, right? He owes her ksuba, right? So let's say there's only enough. Let's say there's enough money in the estate for both of them, right? Do we say that the shnia collects first because she's a balchol, right? And her yorshim, if she dies after her husband dies and then she dies, she has yorshim, so her yorshim inherit the money that she has a balchol. If they didn't collect the ksuba yet, so they collect first. There's only enough money for one ksuba, so they get the second wife and her yorshim get it first. There's enough for two ksuvas, so this the chiddush of the halacha, the Gemara paskins, my focus, the Gemara says malchus tanoim, but we paskin achas b'chayv achas b'moso. There still is a takana of ksuvas being different. If there's enough for the second ksuva from the first mother, enough in the estate to give both, we first give out ksuva to the shnia and her yarshim. They have kedima, and then if there's enough money, then we give the ksuvas being different entirely to the yarshim of the first wife, and then the rest of the inheritance is split. The Gemara has machlokas about this, whether they were masakin ksubas and different, not ksubas and different. So, what is this really based on? What is machlokas about? The Gemara mentions, or we worry about them fighting or not. Now, if you'll learn that we had a machlokas earlier on document Gimel, I believe the Gemara says, what's the lashon? What's the lashon they used in ksubas and different? Is it yispun or yarson? They take or they inherit. What's nafkamina? Nafkamina is they're called the kuchos, right? When they inherit, the children inherit their mother's ksuba after their father is alive, then the mother dies, and then the father dies, so they inherit their mother's ksuba. Is it a Yerush within Yerusha, or is it like they bought it? So the Gemara's maskana is we paskin as Yerusha. So if it's Yerusha, it doesn't make so much sense to me how they were masakin ksubas been different. It's Yerusha, right? Once they said it's Yerusha, so when you're competing with the second wife who's coming as a balchol, right? He predeceased her, the second wife. So now he owes her a ksuva. It's not that he inherited the ksuva and now he's passing it as Yerusha, and it stays with the sons from that wife. The woman inherited it. The woman is a balchol. She collects her ksuva first, like the Mishnah said. But it says that if she dies, then her yorshim also come first. But if there's enough, it is ksubas been different. They would collect ksubas been different. Now, if the first one is a balchol and the second one is Yerusha, right? If I inherit money from my parents or something like that after 120, and my parents owe money to somebody, right? Then a balchol, right? He can collect from me. It comes with a shvua. He collects with a shvua. So even though it's now my money from Yerusha, but if there was a chov on it, he can collect the money. However, over here, they're not entitled to that money over here. The second wife, why not? If it's Yerusha, if it's that's entirely what it means, Yerusha, So they had to collect it. How they could even masakin Kesubos being different, especially that the lashon uses Yerusha. So fine, they're Yorish the ksuva of their mother, but now we have a balchol. So the idea is, I think there's two different halachas over here. That if it's the mother collecting, the mother's still alive, right? The Mishnah says shniya v'yarsheh kodmin. Now, shniya v'yarsheh kodmin. If the mother's still alive and she's collecting the ksuva from her predeceased husband, I don't think, and there's no Yerusha because there is Yerusha, the father died, but I don't think the Yorshim from the first wife would get anything. There would be no Kesubos been different in that case because they're Yorshim and she's a Balas Chov. However, when she's a Balas Chov and she dies, the second wife, so she was owed money. Now that her children inherit her Chov, when you inherit someone's Chov, is that a Yerusha that you inherited the Chov on that person's property, or is that considered to be like you're the Baal Chov, you're the new Baal Chov? So really the way it works is Baal Chov, Eved Lo V'Lish Malva, you're considered a slave to the person who lent you money. That's only the person who lent you money. If they die, even if they inherit a Chov, that's considered not a Chov. You're not a Baal Chov. He's not a Baal Chov of the estate. He's considered a Yoresh. A Yoresh, he's Yoresh the Baal Chov. He's both. He's a Yoresh and he's a Baal Chov, but he's a weakened Baal Chov. And that's really what the Gemara is discussing over here. Do we assume that he's considered a full-fledged Baal Chov, like the mother? A full-fledged Baal Chov, there's no place for something different, because a Baal Chov collects from the Yerusha. However, if we assume that someone who inherits a Chov from their mother is considered not a full-fledged Baal Chov, it's considered a certain degree a Yoresh. I'll talk more about exactly, is it a Baal Chov or a Yoresh, but at least it's partially a Yerusha, it's a weakened Baal Chov. So once it's a weakened Baal Chov, it's not a Baal Chov, it's Midal Raisa, right? Technically, he owes her the ksuva for the schuzbia, mana masayim. He owes that Dal Raisa we talked about. So, but the chov that when she inherits that chov through her children, that is no longer a chov Dal Raisa because, right? He bought the rights to have bia with the mother, not with her children. So her children maybe only own the chov derabanan. And since they only own the chov derabanan, therefore they're able to masakin ksuva different from the children of the first wife. Even if it is a chov, it's only a chov midrabanan, not a chov midoraisa. We'll talk more. Maybe it's even less than a chov. Maybe it's partial chov, partial yerusha. But then there's a makom to say, there's a place to say that there is the institute of Kesubos being different to collect, because then it's derabanan and derabanan. So once it's derabanan, they can say, okay, we'll make Kesubos being different, and therefore you have to pay out the Kesubos of the first wife before you split the yerusha. That's the conclusion of today's share. I hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one.